Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name's Shadowwraith and today I'm going to be going over my faction review for Rivendell. Now, this is only from the Army of the Lord of the Rings book, so that's all I'm going to be talking about in this at the moment. And we'll just jump straight in, shall we? So, we'll start with the army bonus. Now, I'm not going to speak Elven because I'll just butcher it and no one wants to hear that. So, I'll just say, as long as they're within 6 inches of the army's leader, friendly Rivendell models may re-roll failed hit rolls when making shooting attacks in the turn they did not move. So straight away, we know that the book is telling us you want to shoot with Rivendell, at least a little bit. So that's quite good. That's quite good because elves are really good at everything, especially shooting. Now, our first big hero, Big Daddy himself, Gil-galad, High King of the Elves. 170 points this bad boy costs. But he is worth it. He is. He's the bane of my existence. I've only managed to kill him twice, ever. And that's only because I got extremely lucky with camels. So, what do you get for 170 points? Well, you get a movement of 6, standard. Okay, everyone's movement of 6 unless they're cavalry on this. Fight 9. Yeah, fight 9. That is absolutely bonkers. So, you are going to pretty much win the fight on a 6 almost all the time. And if you strike, you don't even need to roll because you'll be max fight value. Fight 10. He's got a 3 up shoot value. He's strength 4. Defense 7, which is really good. 3 attacks. 3 wounds. Courage 7. This boy is not running unless he rolls a double 1. 3 might, 3 will, and 1 fate. Now, the 1 fate is an issue because it has come to bite him. Because if he had 3 fate in the 2 times I tried to kill him, or did kill him, he would have survived. But there are some downsides to him. So if you have Gil-galad, you can't take Arwen, Elendil, or Elrohir, Lindir, or Bilbo, because you'll lose your army bonus. Well, you can take him, but yeah, hey ho. Additionally, the Force will automatically be impossible allies with every other army, regardless of what the alliance would normally be. So it's up to you. If you don't want to be a shooting army, take those other heroes. If you do, then don't. And he comes with heavy armor and Airgulas. There we go. Sounds fancy. Sorry if I butchered that. So, what does that blade do? Well, it is an elven-made spear. Additionally, Gil-galad may add 1 to his wound rolls when making strikes. That is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. He is strength 4, which is pretty good, with +1 to wound with a spear. It's horrible. Because there's a pretty nice tactic where you just use him as a spear support just to get his fight value in there, and then he's +1 to wound anyway. Yeah, horrible. But heroic actions. He's got heroic resolve, heroic strike, which, you know, because you need that at fight 9. Heroic strength, heroic defense, which is fantastic, and heroic challenge, which is, of course, the best heroic action available. And options. You can bring a horse for 10 points, which is highly recommended because that makes him up. Absolute monster when he charges with 4 attacks at +1 to wound, strength 4, fight 9. Yeah, absolute monster. For 10 points, absolutely worth it. Fortunately, you're probably going to have to convert that model. So, hey ho. And then a shield. And for 5 points, I would definitely recommend taking the shield. Because the difference between defense 7 and defense 8 is that strength 3 models, which is the majority of warrior models out there, will go from needing 6s to wound you to needing 6s followed by 4s. So when they finally do roll a 6, there's still a 50-50 chance they will not wound you. And if your army includes Gil-galad, you can upgrade any number of high elf warriors in his warband to become King's Guard for 1 point extra. This is disgusting. They get +1 to their fight value, so they become fight 6. Fight 6 elves. That's the same fight as Aragorn, Boromir. That is absolutely disgusting. Like, because elves needed more fight value. But, hey ho. That's in the game. Yeah. Who needs a fight 6 shield wall for Gondor when you can just do it for 1 extra point here? Not a shield wall, but yeah, still. And then they've all got elven-made weapons, so that if you do draw anyway, you're probably going to win anyway. He's got Blood and Glory, so he's getting might points back. Causes terror, because he's a scary bro. I'd be scared of this guy. And he's got Woodland Creature. Now, his abilities. He's High King of the Elves. So, he's got a 12-inch stand fast, rather than 6. And elf hero models get to use his standfast. And he's got Lord of the West, so basically he may reroll a single dice when dueling and reroll a single dice when wounding. That is horrific. That is such a good rule to have. So yeah, that's him. 170 points for all that. Is he worth it? I think so, but that's up to you. Then we've got Elrond, Master of Rivendell. This is big boy. I love Elrond. He's absolutely fantastic. 170 points again. Is he worth that much? We'll find out. He is Fight 6, Strength 4, Defense 5, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, Courage 7, but he's got 3 might, 3 will, 3 fate. That's pretty tasty. He is missing a lot from Gil-galad, but he's still pretty good. Yeah. If your army contains Elrond, then Rivendell Knights do not count towards your force's bow limit. So you might as well just bring... I mean, that works quite well with your army bonus, I guess. You can spam horses with bows, but that gets quite expensive, so I don't know how much you can spam that. But then again, doesn't count towards your force's bow limit, so you'll have more bows on top of the normal foot bows that you'll have. And then his war gear, he's got his 2 elven war gear. So one of them, basically, is a hand-and-a-half sword. Elven made, mind you. And additionally, he gets +1 to wound when wounding spirit models. That's pretty good, because Army of the Dead is very strong, and so is Angmar, and they're both spirit, and Elrond likes killing spirit models. So Strength 4 +1 to wound against those guys, who are usually really high toughness, Defense 8 usually, 7 and 8. It's perfect, absolutely perfect. And then he's got his ring. Viljar. Elrond, Master of Rivendell, may reroll his dice when using fate points. Rerolling fate points is absolutely amazing. It's a 4+ rerollable, so you got a good chance of passing fate rolls. Now, his heroic actions, he's got heroic resolve, channeling, strike, and defense, so he's got the 2 important ones in my opinion. Then you can give him heavy armor, which is probably worth it, because defense 5 is really squishy. And he's got a horse. Now, 10 points for a horse is really good, but it depends. You got to think, are you going to chuck him into combat? If you are, go for it. And I probably would. I just like having the maneuverability of a horse, so it's worth 10 points. So you're looking at, 190 points if you want both. He causes terror and has woodland creature. So you'll lose woodland creature if you've got a horse, but hey ho. And then, before the game begins, you've got the Foresight of the Elder. You roll a d6, and whatever that is, you may use to alter the priority roll dice. So if you roll 5 on your d6, you've got 5 points to alter it. So it's like might, but for the priority roll dice. Yeah, and you can minus it as well. So you can plus it or minus it by 1 using each one of these points. So if you really don't want to go first, you can minus it by 2, so your opponent has to go first, or the other way around. And mind you, it's only to a maximum of 6 and a minimum of 1. So there's no rolling a 6 and going, I'm going to use one of my points to auto-win. Now, you've got Lords of the West, which what Gil-galad had, which is perfect, but we've got some magical powers here. We've got Renew, which is really good. You get like Might, Will and Fate back, and wounds. And Wrath of Brynjan. Wrath of Brynjan did get a little bit of a nerf, but it needed it. Same as Nature's Wrath. So it used to be 6-inch range, but it's now only a 3-inch aura. And basically what it does is every enemy model within 3 inches of him gets knocked prone or knocked flying with a cavalry, and they take a strength 3 hit, I want to say. Strength 3 hit. And if they're in water, they take like a strength 6 hit. So it's really good. Really, really, really good. Because if you're on a horse and you've made him quite combat-y anyway, you chuck him in there before you go in, you knock everyone prone, and then charge in. And you might kill a bunch of guys as well if they're like defense 3 or 4. Perfect. And then we've got Glorfindel, Lord of the West. 145 points this boy costs, and he's worth it. He is Fight 7, which is really, really good. There's not much Fight 7 heroes out there, so definitely worth it. Strength 4, Defense 5, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, and Courage 7. He's got 3 might, 3 will, 3 fate, and he's got an elven made hand-and-a-half sword. Heroic actions, heroic resolve, heroic strike, heroic strength, and challenge. And you can give him 15 points for the armor of Gondolin. Do. The armor of Gondolin is absolutely nuts. Now, basically what it does is he can't be targeted by any brutal power attacks. At all. That's it. No, you can't rend me. get through my defense like 7. It'll be defense 7 because it's heavy armor. Yeah, I mean a troll's like the strength 7 anyway, but still good. And then you got Asphalloth, the horse. So basically it's got a move value of 6 and he gets fleet foot, so he can run through woods. So that's 10 points, which is really good because it's the same points as a normal horse, but you get fleet foot and 2 inches extra movement. So worth taking. Plus it gets his attacks up and he likes being in combat. He's got Expert Riser, Horse Lord, Terror, and Woodland Creature. All these elves call him Terror. Jesus. And then he's got, did I say Lord of the West? Probably. And Unbending Resolve. So Unbending Resolve, basically, he counts as having Fortified Spirit cast upon him, even if he has no will. So that's pretty handy. And then we've got Eristor. He is 85 points. And he is Fight 6, Strength 4, Defense 7, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, and Courage 6 with 2 Might, 2 Will, 2 Fate. So he's pretty good. Heavy armor and Noldorin daggers. Noldorin daggers, they're elven made, and he may use them as throwing weapons. And he may reroll failed wound rolls for these throwing daggers. And when he makes strikes with them. So that's really good. So Strength 4 re-rolling to wound. And he comes with Heroic Strike, causes terror, and has Woodland Creature. I can't imagine an elf being too scary because they're meant to be quite fair, aren't they? But hey ho, I guess their reputation precedes them. Then you got Owen. She is 60 points. And she is Fight 6, Strength 3, ooh, low on Strength. Defense 3, very low on Defense. 1 attack, 2 wounds, Courage 6, 1 Might, 4 wounds, and 1 Fate. And she's got an elven made sword with Heroic Resolve, Heroic Channeling, and Heroic Defense. She can have the horse Aspholath for 10 points, a normal horse for 10 points. I mean, like, why wouldn't you take Aspholath? Hey ho, I don't know. I guess if he's already got it, you'll just take a normal horse. And then you've got an Elven Cloak, which is always worth bringing because you've got Stalk Unseen, so you can hide her because she is not combatty at all. And the reason you bring her is because she's got Wrath of Brunion. Cast on a 4+, so why not? And she's got 4 will to use it. And just before I forget, she is a hero of Fortitude. Eristor is a hero of Fortitude. Then you've got Glorfindel, who is a hero of Valor. Elrond is a hero of Legend, and Gil-galad is a hero of Legend. So yes. Now we've got Elendon and Elro here for 160 points for both, which is an absolute bargain. They are heroes of Fortitude, and they count as being together in one warband, so no splitting them up. And they are Fight 6, Strength 4, Defense 5, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, and Courage 6. And they come with Heroic Strike, which is awesome. So, 20 points extra will give them both a horse. 10 points for bows on both. Elven Cloaks is 10 points, and Heavy Armour is 10 points. Heavy Armour is worth it because they go up to Defense 7, that becomes nuts. And for 10 points, why not for both of them? Twin Elven Blades, they can choose a stance basically. So you either give them either the single sword, and they count as having a 2-handed sword, or they can choose to fight with both swords and get +1 attack. So, I mean, they don't have Burly, so that's not great, but you can might it to a 6 if you roll a 6. It's up to you. I don't tend to go for Burly, 2-handed weapons if I don't have Burly, just because the amount of times that bit me in the bum is, yeah, ridiculous. Then, Unbreakable Bond. Basically, if one of the brothers dies, the other brother increases their strength by 1, but their defense goes down by 1, and will automatically pass all courage tests they need to make. And then they will try and charge the model that killed their brother as quickly as possible. Once that model is killed, the surviving brother must move as fast as possible towards the closest enemy model for the remainder of the game, charging if able to. Additionally, if the model that killed their brother is a hero, the first time the surviving brother is in combat with the brother's killer, he must declare a heroic challenge, and it doesn't matter what tier hero they are. So, and he doesn't cost a point of might, so why not? Cheers. That's pretty good. Yeah, I'll take that. They're okay. They're quite a good bargain for both. so they're not a bad option to go with, unless you're going for Gilgalad. Now we've got Lindir, 65 points. So for a hero of Fortitude, Fight 5, Strength 4, Defense 4, 1 attack, 2 wounds, and Courage 6. 1 might, 3 will, 1 fate, and an Elven Made Sword is what he comes with. He's got heavy armor for an upgrade for 10 points and a horse for 10 points. See, that's nuts. Like, the twins get heavy armor for both of them for 10 points, but this guy only gets like a set for himself for 10. Sure. And he's got Woodland Creature, and basically what he does is he's got Song of Elbereth. All friendly Rivendell models within 6 gain resistant to magic. So yeah, that's really useful actually. I'll take that. And then Wise Counsel. If he's within 6 inches of Elrond, then Elrond may expend a single point of will without reducing his own, even if he has none remaining. That's really handy if you want him to be a spellcaster. Now, we've got Círdan, everyone's favourite elf that everyone absolutely bonkers for because of the FAQ, and yeah. Sure, I don't know why. I mean, I know why, but like, it's not the end of the world. I'm glad they changed the FAQ, just making a point of that. I do agree with the change. It was a bit silly, especially their reasoning behind it, but it wasn't because of Círdan, in my opinion. So, Círdan, for 80 points, you get a Fight 5 model. And he's a hero of Fortitude. So yeah, and all these elves are 3+ shoot value. I didn't want to say it because it's all the same. He's Strength 4, Defense 4, 1 attack, 2 wounds, and Courage 6. He's got 1 might, 4 will, and 1 fate. And he's unarmed, because he's a shipwright. He's not fighting anyone. Those days are done. He's got Heroic Channeling and Heroic Resolve. Yeah. He's resistant to magic, causes terror. Yeah, he causes terror, right? And Woodland Creature. So, yeah, not bad. And he's got the Shipwright's power. He may spend a single point of will each turn without reducing his own store. So basically he's got Staff of Power. And he's got Aura of Command, which has a 2+ casting. Blinding Light. Blinding Light is fantastic. You go against a Haradrim gunline, and you're like, yeah, Blinding Light 2+. Sweet. Enchanted Blades, which is actually quite good, 6 inches, 4+, and Aura of Dismay. So I think taking a courage test to try and charge him, or friendly dudes. 5+. Oh, I think someone has to take. Anyway, it's something to do with courage. Then you've got Gildor in Glorion. Yeah. 70 points. Moving on. He's a hero of Fortitude. Fight 6, Strength 4, Defense 4, 2 attacks, 2 will, and Courage 6. He has got 1 might, 4 will, and 1 fate, and comes with an Elven Made Sword and an Elven Cloak. Oh, inbuilt Elven Cloak, I love it. He's Heroic Channeling, Heroic Resolve, March, and Defense. Defense is fantastic. So yeah, I'm all about that. Now, options. If your army includes him, you may include Wood Elf Warriors from Lothlorien. That's pretty good. And as if they were part of the army list. These Wood Elves must be upgraded to be Noldorin Exiles at the cost of 1 point per model. Noldorin Exiles have a move of 8 inches. That's crazy. That's really good. He causes terror, because of course he does. He's a scary elf. And he's got Woodland Creature. And his magical power, 12-inch range, 3+, is Immobilize. Immobilize is actually really good. And then you've got the generic Elf Captain. By generic, of course, I mean 75 points for a hero of Fortitude, which is Fight 6, 3 up shoot value, Strength 4, Defense 6, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, Courage 6, 2 might, 1 will, 1 fate. Bargain. They come with heavy armor, Elven Made Hand and a half sword, and have Heroic March. You can give them a horse for 10 points, a bow, lance, or shield, all for 5 points each. Expert Rider and Woodland Creature. So the captains are really good because they're the same fight as Aragorn, but they've got an Elven Made weapon. So is Aragorn, but I'm just saying, so Boromir, there you go, same fight, but I've got an Elven Made weapon, so I'm still probably going to beat you in a fair fight. Now, we've got the High Elf Stormcaller for 60 points. Now, I really like the High Elf Stormcaller. Yeah, I really like him. He is Fight 5, 3 up shoot value, Strength 3, Defense 4, 1 attack, 2 wins, Courage 5. So you're not bringing him for combat. He's got 1 might, 3 will, and 1 fate, and comes with armour, elven made sword, and a staff. Now, he's got heroic channeling because he's a caster, and woodland creature because he lives in the woods. Now, powers of nature. If, when casting, test is made, the Stormcaller rolls a natural 6 or more on a dice, then basically he gets it for free. So, he gets all the will back for free that he used on that magical power. That's nuts. That's pretty crazy. But it has to be natural, so you can't might it. So, yeah. And he's got cool winds, 12-inch range, and 3 up cast, and strength and will. So, yeah, that's 12 inches and 4 plus casting. So he's really good just because of that powers of nature. I really like it. And he's 60 points for that. And, I mean, the spells are okay. But I just like the look of him. And his name. He's a Stormcaller. Now, on to the warriors. We have got probably, like, the best warriors in the game, in some sense, by the fact that they cost 9 points, which is quite expensive, but you'd expect that because they're fight 5, 3 up shoot value, strength 3, defense 5, which is respectable, 1 attack, 1 wound, and courage 5, which is actually crazy. They come with heavy armor and elven made hand and a half sword. So they have the option, their versatility to go two-handed or single. And you can give them a warhorn for 30 points, a banner for 25, an elf bow if you want to be shooty for 2 points, because elf bows are better, they're strength 3 rather than 2. A shield for 1 point, which is probably worth it, because strength 3 goes from winning you on 5s to winning you on 6s. And a spear for 1 point. Yeah, and if you have Gilgalad, you can make them fight 6. So, yeah. So, I mean, if you wanted to go really cheesy, you could just have a bunch of elves with spears and make them fight 6, and then suddenly they are costing you 11 points for a fight 6 model. With elven blades, mind you. Now, imagine your opponent facing that down when their hero has no might left. Yeah, it's going to be scary. You're going to do quite well with that. Because if you like to roll 6s, play elves. Now, they've got woodland creature. Pretty much all elves have woodland creature in this. And then you've got the Rivendell Knight. Pretty solid knight. I like them because I think they're probably the best knights in the game, in my opinion, just because of one thing which I'll get to. So they're 21 points, which is quite expensive, but they're fight 5, 3 up shoot value, strength 3, defense 5, 1 attack, 1 wound, and courage 5. Now, this is why I think they're the best knights in the game. They have heavy armor, an elven made hand and a half sword with elf bone and horse, but they can use a lance as well. So, they're +1 to wound. That is your killing power. I would highly recommend bringing some Rivendell Knights with lances in for killing power. You don't get the elven made bonus because it's not an elven made lance, but who cares? You're +1 to wound and fight 5. And like if you go with Elrond, all those bows that they come with in their war gear are not towards your bow limit. So what you can do is have them in a warband with Elrond and stick him near your leader. So if Elrond's your leader, he's a hero legend, so he can be. And you can make him more of, like, don't give him all the armor upgrades and stuff like that. I mean, you can do, but he won't be super combat-y. You can literally spend the first few turns getting into position, sitting still, firing and re-rolling your misses. And then when the enemy do get close, you can charge them with the Elrond, Wrath of Brynnian, and jump on with your knights with +1 to wound. Yeah, that's pretty horrible and pretty scary. So yeah, Rivendell. What are my overall thoughts on Rivendell? Now, Rivendell are always going to be a pretty solid faction, just because they're elves, and I think elves are really strong. I think they're quite cheap for what they can do, because they seem to have all the bells and whistles. By that I mean they have high fight value, they have pretty reasonable defense, and good shoot value, and really good courage. Now, all that in a package where they only cost 9 points for your standard warrior is pretty tasty. Really, really tasty. Because most other warriors, let's say a warrior minister is 7 points. And that's like with nothing pretty much. And they're fight 3, strength 3. So, pretty rubbish courage, all that. So for an extra 3 points, or sorry, 2 points, disgusting, you get all the extra bonuses. Like, there have been some scenarios where I've been outnumbered by elves as well. Maybe in those instances, I went a bit too hero heavy, but they've been pretty nuts. So yeah, the best way I've seen people play is obviously you want to bring Rivendell Knights, absolutely, because that is your killing power at the end of the day. If you're not relying on your Gil-galad with his +1 to wound, or rerolls to wounds for your other heroes, you will be relying on your Rivendell Knights, because Strength 3 struggle to get through a lot of things, especially when you're going against enemies that are like Defense 8, if you're going against Iron Hills or Dwarves or things like that, or Ghosts. So Rivendell Knights are essential. You might as well bring Elrond, because he's fantastic, and ignore the bow limit on your Knights. So then you can take a detachment of bows, because elves are good at shooting, with elf bows especially, because they're Strength 3, which is a massive jump from Strength 2. Yeah, so they like shooting. So basically you want your kind of like your sword and board line up front with spear support, so you're getting a good 2 attacks per combat at your high fight value, hoping for that good 6. If you can gang up on people, the better. Having heroes to support them. So Gil-galad is a solid option, but he does lock off a lot of heroes, but he's worth it. So having Gil-galad in the centre as a spear support, just chucking his Fight 9 in there, just really hurts. And then when the moment's right, you can chuck him into combat and like heroic combat and kill your way through with his +1 to wound, re-rolling one of the dice to wound and one of his dual dice, and if he's in range of a banner, he's re-rolling another dual dice. Yeah, he's absolutely bonkers. But I would probably make my leader Elrond if I had the 2, and stick him with a cav. And you can, I mean, even if you don't keep him near the cav, they don't cav towards your bow limit, so who cares? So chuck him in a warband with cav, send the cav to do whatever they want, and sit him with the bow so they're re-rolling to hit for a while. And then when it gets to the proper grindy bit of the battle where all the combat's going off, that's when you can send him in and Wrath of Brunion in places you need him to. So if you're losing like a part of the battle, so if you've got a solid line and you're losing the right wing and you think it's going to crumble, chuck him in there, Wrath of Brunion, and then he's chucking his attacks in there and his combat, you know, his fight value, things like that. Perfect. Yeah, it's pretty easy. You want to shoot on your way as they come in towards you, if the situation allows it, and then just jump in there and maximise on attacks using your fight value. Once you get that, I mean, if they're not winning fights, they're not killing you. That's the end of it, really. And yeah, relying on killing power. So you need Rivendell Knights, and you need at least Gil-galad if you don't have the Rivendell Knights. That's all I'm going to say. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you ever so much for listening. And, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be cheeky. If you could subscribe, that would be absolutely fantastic. If not, like the video. But failing that, I still hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.